I need a 30 for 30 to show that I'm different like Jordan and Pippen. I need a 30 for 30 like Jalen and Webber. Nobody gon' fuck on my click. I need a 30 for 30. What it is, folks, we back again with another episode of the realest, most entertaining sports show in the game. Put it on something. As usual, I got my brothers here with me. JoJo, what it is, pimp?
What it is, JoJo used to be a dancer. I did it 3 times the other night.
All right, boy. All fucking right up there. I see where you going tonight. And we got a special guest with us. Hailing from Harlem, New York. That boy, Rob Patty. What's happening, dog?
What's going on? Thanks for having me, fellas.
And he now residing in the A right now. So I got he going hard for the A too. So I gotta let y'all know that. But before we get into it, I gotta tell you, America. Today's episode is sponsored by Statement Tees. Statement Tees, every t-shirt you wear makes a statement, and you see the motherfucking statement I'm making. You know what I'm saying? If you ain't listened to that bitch yet, you need to goddamn go download the stream, First Letter Week Kings, and on that motherfucker, you gonna hear classic. 30 for 30 by me, First Letter. You know what I'm talking about? It was the intro song to this bitch. Again, go listen to 30 for 30 by First Letter and shop with Statement Tees. Every t-shirt you wear makes a statement. Now, we ain't gonna waste no motherfucking time, though. We're gonna get straight to it. Because we had a classic on Monday Night Football where the Ravens beat the Browns. That motherfucker, goddamn Lamar Jackson, looked like he was hurt. We saw him go to the locker room like, okay. I saw him get tackled when he was running and shit like that. Something that I'm very concerned about with guys like him, guys like Kyler Murray, shit like that. So I thought that was wrong with him. Then other folks started speculating that he was taking a shit or what he had cramps from COVID and all this kind of shit. But all I know is 4th and 5. That motherfucker run out there like goddamn Superman, Batman, some shit. Come straight out the back, throw a touchdown. Baker come back though. I wish Baker would have done that shit last year when I had him on my fantasy team, but that's a whole nother story. But Baker come back, lead them boys down. And then we had a moment where my brother Joe said earlier in the year, I think also my brother TJ, question, can Lamar Jackson in a 2-minute drill, in a last-minute situation, can he take his football team down the field and get them in the end zone or either get them in position to kick a field goal with his arm? And we saw him do that in a classic game. Everybody on social media, Brun talking about it, Magic Johnson talking about it, and folks throughout the sports world, folks, the other celebrities talking about that goddamn game. It was a great game. So I want to see what y'all boy thought about it, man. JoJo, we'll start with you, Penn. What you think?
Man, that game, it was a classic. And I was critical. I was critical of Lamar because I just wasn't, this year especially, I just didn't see what I saw his MVP year.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just wasn't seeing it. So I'm like, okay, I know he's good regular season, but it seems like the big games, them against the Chiefs, them against the Steelers, them against the Titans, he was coming up short. But I mean, this game, I really think the Browns, to me, shockingly, because I didn't really expect this, but they are a really good team. Like they really are. So Lamar, he showed me that he can do it. So now I will no longer question, can he do it, but it will he do it? For him to come out from taking a dump, that's what it was. I've done that run before. I've done that run before. That is one of those.
Hey, okay, he did kind of come out a little.
Yeah, that's that. Because that's that. If it's on one side, maybe weaker than the other, so you're trying to balance it. Because you can't do a full run. Because if you do a full run, it's over.
Right.
You're not going to make it.
Right.
So that's exactly what that was. But, man, he came back 4th and 5. Talk about pressure. And to Hollywood. Thankfully, Hollywood caught it.
Thank you.
Thankfully, Hollywood caught it.
Yeah.
Because he would have had a long night had he dropped that, by the way.
Oh, look, because then Hollywood earlier in the year make some kind of tweet or statement about
basically they're not throwing him the ball. He said, why have a Rolls Royce and not use it? Not something like that. Something of that sort.
Yeah.
But man, I'm actually glad Lamar showed me that he can do it. Because to be honest, had they lost this game, I don't think they would have made the playoffs. I think that would have been a killer. Cause I don't know that'll be hard to bounce back from. You know what I mean? Cause they already teetering, and then to have a game where before he went out they were up 10. I
Yeah,
think
they were up. They
they
Yeah,
were
I
were
up.
think
up.
it was like
He goes to the
34-20.
locker room, and then the Browns.
You know, 14, one of them.
Yeah, it
You,
was
you know what
14.
I
Yeah.
mean? So man, kudos to Lamar. Uh, Thank you for shutting up a lot of the media. You even shut me up. So kudos to you, brother.
Shout out. Patty, what were your thoughts on the game, dog?
So, so I looked at it a little bit different, but the part that Joe said at the end is the part that I want to talk about because the media they do have a lot to say about Lamar, right? I heard this stat today. The way that he's being criticized, you wouldn't know it. The dude has won 79% of the starts he's had in the league, right? So you would think he just fell off the cliff this year. The way that people like, man, he is not what he used to be.
Right.
Now, we all know the league is always going to catch up to you, but the fact that he's lost two of his tackles this year as well hurts his game. Now, I think I'm not as impressed with the win as everybody else, but I do like the shootout part of it. Like everybody likes shootouts, right? That's just and that second half was definitely a shootout, and of course the dramatic coming back into the game like Willis Reed. That's for Knicks fans, old Knicks fans. Oh, it's like the part that just kind of made it a little bit more exciting. I don't think the Browns are that good of a defensive team. And that's part of the reason that they've given up the amount of points that they've given up. I don't think that the Ravens are as good of a defensive team as they were last year. And part of it has to do with some of their back end being injured. And of course, Calais Campbell, who's on the line, he's not giving them the type of pressure that they thought he was going to be able to give. It made sense for this to be a high scoring game. The defenses aren't that great anymore. I think Baker Mayfield, he is what he is. He's shown what he's going to be. I think we've seen the best of what he can be, right? And I think he can capitalize on defenses that aren't that great. I think Lamar Jackson, is a unique talent that, he still has levels that he can get to. But to piggyback off of what Joe said, he's had some hiccups against the big name opponents like the Chiefs and the Steelers. And those teams, for the most part, they can, as far as the Chiefs, they can match you score for score. Of course, the Steelers, when healthy, they have great linebackers, right? Of course, Bud Dupree and Devin Bush went out, so it's a different look now. But anytime you got a mobile quarterback, if you can have linebackers that are just as fast and that can contain that a little bit, that allows for people like Lamar Jackson to not be able to do their thing. Now, the Hollywood Brown thing is kind of funny because it reminds me of Michael Vick remember when his receivers would be like, man, like these dudes suck. Well, part of it, they don't know if they're supposed to block or run in the play, right? Because they're like, well, I'm running. He ain't going to throw the ball. And then all of a sudden, this motherfucker threw a cannon at me, right? And of course, we're supposed to say, yeah, they're supposed to make that play there in the NFL. But the reality of it is when you have if you don't know what your expectation is for that play, of course, the likelihood that you might make a mistake, that's going to come up. I like Lamar Jackson. Of course, I'm going to be pro any black QB, right? That's going to be my thing. And I think the criticism that comes with it, he was going to face that anyway because of how stellar of a season that he had last year. You can't do that year after year after year. No one can do that year after year. Even Mahomes comparatively fell off last year in comparison to the 50 touchdown season. So the game was great because of the points scored, but the reality of it is both of these teams have leave you with a defense that has some holes in it that really need to be addressed, even if they get to the playoffs. Somebody's going to attack them, and they might be one and done.
I want to pull your coat on this. Then I'm glad you brought up the playoffs. I'm glad you mentioned the Chiefs as well. Do y'all think if the Ravens can get off in that thing, if they can knock off the Chiefs? Now, this is why I'm asking that. We know the Chiefs' offense is high-powered. This is talking about. Well, right. I admit this son bitch Mahomes. He different. Okay. I know his daddy, his real daddy played baseball, but his football daddy is Aaron Rodgers. That's the football daddy. That motherfucker can do everything my boy can do. And it looked like with his legs, he can do it better. With his legs. Now the arm talent, my boy can make all them throws. I don't give a fuck what nobody say. All right, but ain't no Tyreek. Can't nobody catch that son bitch. We talked about Kelsey. We know all the other parts they got. Okay, cool. So how do you combat that? We said what? Maybe put a bounty on Mahomes' ass, or keep them off the field. And the Ravens, even though we've talked about them, their offense not being as explosive as they were last year, still these motherfuckers are number one in the league in terms of rushing at 173.8 yards a game. 173 yards a game. All right. That's even beating the Titans, who got the best rusher in the game. You feel me? Now, they also have the number 5 scoring defense. You know, now I know they didn't look like that in that Browns game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But so we can at least say they got a pretty good defense and got the number 1 rushing offense. Do you think if they can minimize turnovers and come in there with that formula of running the ball and being serviceable at least, maybe holding Mahomes to 24, let's say, something like that, not letting them get to 30. Do they have the recipe for beating them motherfuckers, or is it a foregone conclusion that the Chiefs going to the Super Bowl?
Well, what I would say is the only chance the Ravens have is the fact that they've lost to the Chiefs so much that, I mean, it's probably due for them to win one. The problem with their rushing game is actually their rushing game is like the Chiefs' passing game. They don't go 3 yards, 5 yards, 3 yards, 5 yards. Like their rushing game goes to the house. Like Lamar can go, J.K. Dobbins can go. When they go, it's a 50-yard touchdown, it's a 60-yard touchdown. Well, when you do that, you give Mahomes the ball back. But if you were doing like the Titans do, where I mean Henry, he can break one, but most times he gonna get you for 5. Then he gonna get you for another 3. Then he'll get you for a 4, and that eats the clock up. They don't really eat the clock up like that because they can break one for the long.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. That's an interesting point. That's an interesting point. I like running the ball. When I watch football, all this shit about throwing, and yes, I'm a Packer fan, and I got Aaron Rodgers, I can send him to go. But anybody who know me know I would say I'd rather have a team structured with great defense, good quarterback, great running backs. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got depth at running back, because running back gonna get hurt. So you need some depth at running back, great offensive line. I wish I had something like that, because that damn passing, that shit could be real fluky. Like, the Chiefs just won, but then he throw like what, 3 picks? Two picks?
Or
Three picks.
And to be honest, it was their run game. I mean, everybody remember the throw to Tyreek, but it was their run game that really hurt us.
And that Super Bowl, God damn it, I know he got a Super Bowl MVP, but their running back had an argument for Super Bowl MVP against y'all. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So that team well put together, but I don't know. I don't know if the Ravens can do it. Could the Browns do it then? Do you think the Browns can do it if they got in there? Why not? Now, I saw their defense scoring wise, it's not even there for me to mention. Like that.
I don't trust Baker.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't trust him.
So you're not buying anyway. Everybody, because a lot of folks slurping them this year.
See,
like,
what they're not saying is they have 2 really good running backs.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, that coach, he have his games where he gonna feed the running back. And that's when Baker's at his best. You feed the running back, he play action, bam, he hit Jarvis Landry. But like for the Chiefs, once they get in a shootout, the running backs are non-existent. at that point. And I wouldn't trust Baker in a shootout. He's not at Oklahoma.
Let me go back to what Wells asked about the Ravens, right? And of course, the answer to the first part of it, I think anybody can get beat in the playoffs, right? I honestly feel like that. But here's why I think the Ravens could beat the Chiefs, because the strength of the Ravens defense is the fact that those boys have pretty good cornerbacks. Now, they're a little beat up now, but let's just say playoff time, Marcus Peters, he is a gambler, right? But those other guys that they have back there are legit studs, right? And if you could somehow minimize that long pass that they're able to get off and try to minimize Kelsey getting 20 yards, they don't really have a real running game that they can depend on. Now, the only issue is that they also don't have like we talked about before, that D-line is not getting the pressure that we all expected them, on paper, right? We expected that D-line for the Ravens to be just solid this year.
Yeah.
The fact that they won't be able to apply that type of pressure on Mahomes is going to be their downfall. But that back end that they have for the Ravens is legit. Now, because of that, right, and I'll be honest with you, the last few games I've seen of Patrick Mahomes, and I heard Skip Bayless, and I don't agree with a lot of what he says, but this guy is getting a lot. We talk about technique and mechanics. His mechanics look terrible. When I saw that, some of his decision-making in that Dolphins game, that 29-yard sack that he took, like, that's more so arrogance than anything, right? Like, no one runs that far back. That's just,
little kid playing Madden type of shit, ain't it?
Yes, that's exactly what it was. So it's like, all right, something's off about what he's doing. He's trying to go for the big plays, and if you can have a team that can, and of course, the Dolphins, I think if they weren't without their top wide receiver being out, without their starting tight end being out, them dudes could have actually beat them.
Well-coached team.
It really is. It really is. Of course, they have two of the best corners in the league, right? You got your boy Xavier, what's his name? Xavier Howard. He got 9 interceptions.
Yeah.
He got more by himself than like 8 teams.
Look, I knew they were well coached when they beat my Niners the way they did. Because I was really like counting that as a W. But when I saw that and I was watching the game, I was like, no, this team is really legit.
Mm-hmm. And of course, like I said, man, image-wise, I love that team. I think it's some really good positive things that are going on with them, and kind of what Wells just said, the type of team he likes, right? You get you a team that actually has a good defense, a so-so quarterback, right? And they don't really have a running game like that yet, but they'll get there, right? Yeah. And that's it. And that's what you need. Of course, I think the Dolphins need another wide receiver to really take some pressure off of Devontae Parker.
Yeah.
But they'll find it. They'll find it. But to answer your question, yes, I do think the Ravens, could essentially beat the Chiefs. The Chiefs haven't played their best football outside of that one half against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'll say in the last 4 or 5 games, they just haven't brought it consistently for a full game. And they lucked up and won against the Dolphins. They were somehow able to beat some of the teams that they recently beat, but they're not unbeatable. We see that they're not unbeatable. So
what about the Browns? You give the Browns a chance?
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I don't believe in Baker, but in the playoffs, man, I give anybody a chance, right? Like,
that's true.
Their linebackers, Anthony Hitchens, and I can't think of the other guy's name for the Chiefs. They're just so at best. And if you could keep Chubb and Kareem Hunt, consistently doing their thing, then I would, I give them a chance. Frank Clark, he hasn't been as great this year as he was last year. They're not getting the penetration that they may have been getting at the when it came to the playoffs last year. So that might give Baker more time to do his thing, give Jarvis an opportunity for him to break down the defense with them short passes or them short receptions. Anything's possible. Anything's possible when it comes to the playoffs. I don't think there's a team out there that's unbeatable.
Man, they looking at these boys. Only the Jaguars, the Lions, Raiders, Jets, and the Cowboys give up more points than the Browns. Like they not finna fuck with them Chiefs. They like, you know, because like the Ravens were like you're saying, Joe, the Ravens were chewing their ass up on the ground. I think people so used to this air raid type of shit.
Yeah.
That when somebody get lit up on the ground and then you look at their numbers, what Lamar had like under 200 yards passing, but the motherfucker got a buck on the ground.
Right.
You got like on the ground, you got dive, you know what I'm saying? Motherfuckers really cutting up and chewing up that clock. So I don't think the Browns can get them, but if they can rush, if the Ravens can rush 4, like y'all were doing against them, Joe.
Oh yeah.
Y'all rushing 4.
If you could rush 4 and get that pressure.
4, and don't let the motherfuckers beat you over the top.
You gotta play zone.
You gotta wrap up Kelsey. Get him on the ground. A team like they might be able to get him, man. And but they got Chiefs got defense too.
I'm gonna tell you what's scary. I know you say you don't see a team unbeatable, but I'm gonna tell you why I think the Chiefs is the closest thing to unbeatable. Is because, as you said, they haven't played well. And how many losses they got?
They just got the one against the Raiders.
Got that one, and they haven't played well. Like that's scary. You know what I mean? Because it's like if it actually clicks.
That's the thing about the Chiefs that does make them the closest to it, right? Is that they have so many different levels, right? Like you take away Hill and Hardman, man, you still got Kelsey, right?
You got
like
Sammy Watkins.
Then you got Sammy Watkins, and of course, if you putting a lot of attention to them and you're not loading the box, you know, Clyde Edwards-Helaire and what's the Le'Veon Bell, they can do enough to disrupt the game. Exactly. So it's tough to shut them down completely, but there's no complete team out there, right? Like there's a good defensive team like the Dolphins, but they don't have a good offense, right? So like you got to beat them on both sides, and I don't know if there's a team out there that can actually do it, but at the same time, I didn't expect the Tennessee Titans to kind of run over the Ravens like they did in the playoffs last year.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, I didn't see that happening. So, I mean, there's nobody who could have went into the – I don't think there's anybody outside of a Titans fan who thought they probably would have actually won the games that they won. So that's why I say nobody's unbeatable. Every year we get a chance to see a shot in the playoffs.
Well, we'll see, man. We know this for sure. That was a hell of a game. You know, it's weird because you don't have the fans. I feel like a moment like that with Lamar running about that bitch and doing that, you know what I'm saying? If fans were there, you would have seen the reactions in the crowd and all that kind of shit.
I kid you not. And I promise you I'm not lying. When I was watching that game, the game was so exciting. And I know they had the crowd, you know, the noise pumping up. But that game really felt like it was a pre-COVID game, like for real. Like I really felt like it was fans in the stands, and because I was like that tuned in.
I see what you're saying, because our viewing experience, and some basketball players have talked about this, that our viewing experience is much better than their playing experience. For them, they're like, this is weird as fuck. But for us, shit, we ain't in the arena no goddamn way. So it's a good game for what we see, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, but shout out to them boys for that, and we look forward to seeing what both these teams gonna do in the future.
Go.
Subscribe to our daddy's YouTube channel. He's the best. Hit the like button, turn on the notifications.